Ani Kanawea Badaske Nadijnakas Shagnashi Noswin, Terri Fisher, Makwa Nadodem, Dishkan Zibing Nadunjaba, and Minwa Indida, Anishinaabe Kwe Indao. So I said my spirit name is Rising Sun. My English name is Terri Fisher. I'm from Chippewas of the Thames as well as reside here. I am Bear Clan and I'm an Anishinaabe woman. I am the daughter of Audrey, also better known as Bill Wilson, and Larry Fisher Jr. I was raised on reserve. I did go to school off reserve. I think what brought me to this point is recognizing that as I've matured, that I do have great leadership qualities and I really care about the next generations coming up. So I am a mother, so I get to kind of hone those skills in to my own children and having them recognize that there are roles and responsibilities that they need to play within community, even at their young age, and how that relationship is reciprocal between the young people and people of my generation, as well as our elders. I think that what's really important to me in order to kind of like sit around this table is to have this idea that like I'm here for the people, to really understand the issues and to move things forward. I acknowledge that I am just one voice, so there is that as I sit around this table of 12 plus the chief. But really being able to utilize my voice and my education and my life experience to advocate for those that kind of stand behind me and are within community alongside me. I've chosen to run for council this term because I was a past councillor in 2019-2021. It was the COVID term, which kind of left things kind of a bit crazy and wasn't quite a normal term. I did get elected in for the 2021-2023 term, which I unfortunately did not finish. I did have some life circumstances that I chose to withdraw from the council seat. That choice was not taken lightly, but allowed me to kind of maneuver in a way to make myself healthier and in a better version for myself, for my kids, for community. So at this point I feel really healthy, really like mentally strong to be here, to deal with hard issues, to utilize the voice that I've been honing in the past few years, recognizing that the strengths that I have and the vision that I foresee with community will allow me to be an active participant around this table. I know I possess a lot of qualities that good leaders have, and that's not coming from an ego aspect, that's coming from a humility aspect and just knowing myself. I'm an active listener. I want to understand the root issues of why things are happening, why potentially there might be no movement, or I seek to understand before I want to react. I understand that I also take care of my own personal business, so like my finances I deem are like great. I am able to take care of myself in a way that I think is the way that I want to live, and I really live like Anishinaabe Adzuin, that way of life. And I seek, I think, to add that also to the council table, because I think as we're in this INAC government, there is room to bring the culture, that way of being, back in. And we have been talking about it for many years, and I think just being it and living it also adds to what I bring to the table. So just a little bit about myself and my life experience, career experience is I've worked in recreation here for the nation for the youth, as well as I've gone back to school to do paramedic. So kind of everything that I've been involved in is kind of healthcare field related, which kind of really comes back to that Makwa Dodem. Along with the paramedic that I was for many years, I am also a massage therapist. And with those skills, I've also have been an entrepreneur for the past 11 years, teaching first aid and CPR. So I think that within each of my career endeavors, I've definitely honed in skills that I can share and act from around this table. I work in high-paced situations. I've had to make really hard decisions. I think that my communication style really speaks to kind of like fostering and nurturing, having more inclusive dialogue amongst my peers. And really owning your own business is like its own beast, but like there's financial parts of it, there's scheduling, there's time management, work-life balance that I've had to really set boundaries on in my life and in my work. I think that I always looked at having many different jobs as a negative thing because I kind of couldn't stick with one career. But actually looking back, I realized that each part of my career experience has given me opportunity to hone in skills and to practice them to allow me to do this kind of work for our nation. I think that to me, a good leader is someone who wants to listen, to understand, and then to act. And I have that ability to do these things, especially in a group setting. I find it motivating to have people come together and voice opinions, have healthy debate, and be able to come up with the best solution for whatever the issue is. I am definitely solutions-based. I consider myself very efficient in that. So that part excites me because I'm not just a leader that wants to listen and then not do anything. There's definitely that action piece where I find sometimes that quality is missing, and we really do need somebody that has like the ability or the capacity to move things forward, not kind of afraid to do the hard work, not afraid to dig a little bit deeper and to figure out what is the core issues or what the nation actually would benefit from. Because as much as we would all love to come to one consensus on things, sometimes that's not possible. And I think that understanding that and then working from the best case scenario with the accountability of to why and making that decision and sticking with it and voicing it to the people will really, I guess, allow people to have trust in the governance system, but more so myself in the leadership role. I think trust is something that we always hear from the people, as well as transparency and accountability. So those are natural things I believe that I possess in my life, and I would definitely welcome that to be around the table. There is that reflection piece that I can draw upon, especially during a time where everything was kind of in chaos and we had to make some hard decisions. I think good governance is understanding where your people are at and what they need, and allowing or acting from that to provide the community feel safe, understood, heard. Also, too, good governance is understanding your own strengths and your own weaknesses at the table. I definitely know I have still a lot to learn, and hoping to learn from those that get voted in around me. I think good governance is also about recognizing, when it comes to the strengths, it's like recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses, but the humility to also say, I don't know this, but I'll find out an answer and come back, whether it's to yourself or your fellow counselors or your nation. And we have to understand that nobody is perfect. We all don't have the answers. But recognizing that there's a humility piece, especially being a leader, especially in a governance system that doesn't belong to us, right? I think that good governance also is looking at the past and what has worked well and what hasn't. So learning from those things, as well as wanting to make some healthy risks and choices to move forward. And a part of that is understanding our own governance as Anishinaabe and how that can be intertwined to what we currently have, and having that then lead into something that's more like for us, by us, that will allow us to kind of operate in this system that is more meaningful to us. We definitely have this healthcare system, this westernized healthcare system that we're very used to, that does us well when we need it. But I think within our holistic health, we're definitely missing this piece that connects us back to our culture, our land, and what that means then for our overall health. I think when we think about health, it's like doctors, medicine, be well, when realistically everything is always so related. So then how do we maneuver that kind of stuff into our own healthcare and what we do on a daily basis, right? Because we want our healthcare to be proactive instead of reactive, and those measures are in place for the reactiveness, but not necessarily for the proactive. So healthcare transformation for me would be kind of incorporating culture, connection to land, to our people, and kind of it would be introducing it into the schools, into NG Majatwad, as young as possible, right? Wellness programs for prenatal, just revamping the system. I would love to push boundaries, and I know that there's other nations that have tripartite agreements with both federal and provincial government to have their money and be able to kind of spend it as needed. I would love to see something like that, where we have an agreement with the government where we get to say what's best for us, and sure, we'll report to them, but it's going to be on our behalf. It's going to be what we need, because we spend so much time reporting and telling them what we need and not doing the work for our people. So I don't know, to me it's like pushing boundaries. It's to see what we can really do for our nation, and letting federal and provincial government know, municipal government, that we're the ones that have to create these programs. It's never going to be them telling us what we need. Oh man, reconciliation. This is such a loaded word for me. It's a word that I don't mind it, but I don't think reconciliation is our process. Reconciliation for me is allies doing the work. For myself, I love the term like indigenizing or what's the word, environmental repossession, this way to incorporate our everyday way of being into what we do. So it really depends on people's definition of it, because I think people will be like, yes, we need reconciliation, we sure do, but that's not on me to do. I want allies to do it. I want people who want to educate the allies to do it. I'm more in the forefront of what can I do at home, what can I do for my family, what can I do for my nation, that is going to have this resurgence of who we are as Anishinaabe. Any engagement that I go to in community, communication's always one that is like up there. People want to know how they're going to be brought into this, right? So, and that's actually just more than communication too, right? Like they want to belong, they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard. So I think that one of the biggest things, especially right now, is that like I wanted to create my own website for this situation, right? So that people had the means to contact me. There's a reply page, my phone number's on there, my email's on there. I definitely welcome people asking questions in a respectful manner. But in long term, it's really interesting because really, like we put out the Mizzen again. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, we try to mail out things as much as possible, but there's definitely this group of people off reserve that are missed, right? There isn't always the best, I guess, communication when it comes to say like, okay, put your address in and we'll mail things out to you, and the time constraints and everything. But I do also want to note that there's an accountability piece for those people to also reach out to the nation. And that's for myself as well, right? Because I'm like, okay, where's this information? I want it this second. But where's my action to go and seek this information to? With saying that, I'm not sure how much more we can do in the ways of reaching out besides what we have, but like just trying to hope people like want to belong, and want to seek that information. I love being a part of community. I try to attend everything that I possibly can, especially with my children. They also go to school off reserve, so having them to be a part of the nation because they're not in it every day at school allows me to be at community events, just talking to people, right? And it's really interesting that people will always say that, like people will like to complain, or like their first kind of initial thing is communication, trust, and accountability for anything that happens in the nation. Yeah, and I've been kind of like shouting that from the rooftop for the last few months because I knew that this election was going to happen, and people would, have an issue with when election date was, or not knowing when nominations were, or just the information kind of getting out. But if you're above the age of 20, you've been going through this every 2 years. You know that it's in July, you know that these things are happening. So kind of also allowing yourself to seek that information. And yeah, we don't always want to seek it, but sometimes we need to, right? The accountability on the nation is there, but now the accountability on self has to be there. My vision for the nation, so it'd be a mix of resurgence of culture and knowing who we are as people, not only in community but also around the governance table. But in saying that, it would really to be build the strength within our OSR as well, our own source revenue, to be more reliant on the nation for what we need. Because if we are the ones at the table talking about our own money, then that's going to be our choice, that's going to be our decision, and not having to answer to the powers who be, the federal government, who keep on kind of clawing back resources, right? Definitely there was a date and time when, you know, we didn't have the capacity to build that OSR, but we have it now. Like, we're such a forward nation, and we have all these brilliant ideas. We have the people that want to bring them to light. So it's finding those people, bringing them in, and really allowing the nation to, I guess, explode when it comes to capacity in all these different areas. Of course, like, I'm very positive, so it's like a utopian society basically, but I also recognize that that's not the case. But it is honestly just taking one step forward and recognizing that anything that we do to indigenize ourselves, to kind of go back to our roots, is better than anything, and that will actually lead us forward in making choices for, you know, government, our own source revenue, the projects that we want to do. So, oh gosh, I feel like the youth would have everything. We always speak to the youth and how we want to give them everything, but I think it kind of falls to the wayside when then we get voted in. So having that representation on youth, having the youth experience meetings, have them experience culture, will really fast forward the way things work in the next 7 generations to come. I see it in my own children, right? Because as much as I grew up on reserve, I didn't go to school in reserve. My parents didn't involve me in culture. So that's been my own journey as an adult. But because my kids have had it from birth, they know who they are more now than I do now, right? Like, they're so integrated with Anishinaabe, Odsawin being the way that they lead, that they don't have to question their indigeneity. They don't have to question why they think the way they do. It's just inherently them. And so that's where I think my own goals are, right? Is at home is my first priority. If I'm not raising my kids the way that I need to, then I'm not serving anybody any good, because they're our next generation. So having them think and act and do everything in this this Anishinaabe, Odsawin, this way of being, really speaks to, I think, my own ability to raise future leaders, not only in my household, but like, I hope that is a ripple effect in their friends, in the future, or the generations after them. Yeah, I'm real hopeful, and I think we're all doing a great job. We're doing the best job we can, and we have a community that wants it. I see these young people, they want all the culture, they want to feel connected. So it's really exciting to be, I guess, in this life stage and kind of reflecting on what it was like to be then and what it is now. Yeah, absolutely. I think that stems from not having it at home when I needed it, right? And I can say that. And it's not a dig to my parents. It really is, as an adult now, then I'm accountable to what I want. So I had to sit hard and through, you know, when my kids were in daycare learning Anishinaabe Moin, and they were coming home and I didn't understand them, I had a choice. Either I could just ignore it, or I could learn with them. And now my kids tell me all the time, like, oh, you haven't been to a language class in a while. I'm like, you know, we use it all the time. Like, it is really awesome that they're encouraging me in my own path to find who I am and in this journey, so it's pretty cool. One thing would be to actually get out and vote. Apathy isn't great for our nation, and we do care about your voice. We care about you coming in, whether it's a mail-in or coming physically in and voting. It matters. You're more than just one vote. You're part of a community that wants better. And not voting sure, we can not vote, but I really think it does a disservice to community to have your voice be heard, because we all want to be heard. We all want to be seen. So then, like, come out and vote. And I think another thing is, which might be controversial, but like, really get to know who your candidates are. How do they live? How do they think? Because when we're voting for these people around the table, they're representing us, right? I want ones that can think critically. I want ones that make movement in their own life. Can they find a solution for things when you talk to them? You know, it's really getting out there and talking to them to see what kind of people they are, so that way you know that they're going to be that person around the table. Because we're at a critical time where we need movement, and we need the right people around the table to do that.